How do you think our country's government could be changed for the better? Democracy or something completely different that would better us for a whole, as a whole?
Better for us, as a whole. Oh man. So I have a rule about politics and government and all those things is generally blame stupidity, not malice. Most of the time, people are just incompetent. So, in terms of how ineffective government is and how they always fail to reach their goals and, you know, they constantly lie to you and all those things, that's because humans just suck. So, there's utopia's false, doesn't exist, at least in the way that it's been classified. I mean, in some sense, we are living in a utopia. By historical standards, we certainly are. The biggest, or the, you know, could we change it? I mean, of course we could, is part of the answer. But I'm not, what's interesting here is I used to be far more interested in politics, like, especially when I was younger. Not that I'm that old, but I used to be far more interested in politics. And the more and more that I looked into it, the more and more I realized that I don't think most of our problems can be solved by government and politics. I think they come down to the individual. And I think they come down to your individual moral character and who you are. There's a reason that you're the cornerstone of this state. There's a reason that you have the right to free speech and that you have the right to vote. It means that you have something within you that's sovereign, that is necessary for the continuation of a country like ours. And the more that degrades, the worse place we're going to be in. So what's our biggest problem? I think it comes down to the individual moral character of the citizens that make up that country. In terms of stuff that you could change, I mean, there's a million policy suggestions. You can go look through them. Liberals have a case to be made, and so do conservatives. That's the thing with our political debate, is they're both right.
There is no debate, almost.
Yeah, well, right now that's very true. But they're both right. I mean, just at different times. Like, we need both. Mm-hmm. Liberals are needed when things get too rigid and structured, that they become corrupt. And conservatives are needed because if things are going well, you don't want to radically change things because most new ideas are bad. So they're both needed. And there isn't really a way around that. One of the things that we're fortunate for in the U.S. specifically is the founders realized that human beings are self-motivated and stupid at our core. And let's just say they took more of a Hobbesian view than a Rousseauian view, which is, for people that aren't familiar with them, is essentially they didn't believe that humans were fundamentally good, which, you know, go read some history and make up your mind about that. But regardless, is under that premise, they instituted a system of checks and balances. And we're not actually in a pure democracy. We're in a representative democracy. We're in a republic. And the biggest reason that we're in that is because the founders were terrified about the tyranny of the mob, the 51% that could club the 49% into submission. And it was very wise. Now, what I don't think they intended or predicted was the fact that certain branches of the government would voluntarily give up powers. So what's happened over the last 50 years specifically is the executive branch has continued to take powers that really were meant to be found in Congress. And what's somewhat strange is Congress just didn't really do much. And it's a slow trickle of a power structure shift, but that's one of the things that happens. The other thing that's happened is that the government size is metastasized. And, you know, some people think that's good. As you get more bureaucracy, things get less efficient, but if you don't have enough bureaucracy, things can't get done. So it's a constant debate, hence the liberals and conservatives. I guess I kind of answered the second part of the question, democracy or something completely different that would be better for us as a whole. This is about as good as it gets, at least from what we've been able to manage. Utopian philosophies have ended in nothing but death. So you can count the philosophies by, the millions of corpses that they have left behind. So for all you Marxists out there, no. Doesn't work, okay? Utopian philosophies don't work. So how about we have a little bit of gratitude, recognize that we're probably not as good as we think we are, and work on practical solutions. So, if I had to name one, just as a bit of a tidbit here, if I had to name one policy that I'm a fan of, is there's some, I forget which state, but one state has a rule that if you are to enact a new regulation, you have to get rid of 2 previous regulations. In order to even do anything. And it's genius because it helps get rid of useless things, which otherwise you wouldn't necessarily be incentivized to do. So if I had to put that out there, that'd be probably one of my favorite policies. The other one would be ranked choice voting.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. And in Michigan, there was a movement for it. Big fan of that. Of course, it's highly unlikely to actually happen for a number of different reasons. But just a quick overview is, at least the idea behind it is, you would assign, instead of just having one vote, you'd rank candidates by which one that you prefer the most, and then the second. And where it's been tried, it's actually been fairly successful in terms of the discourse and the debates between different political candidates. The level of vitriol and negativity has gone way down because it turns out that you actually are incentivized to give the other candidates the benefit of the doubt in a rank choice system. So I'm a big fan of that policy. So if we had to enact it, I'd be all for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, instead of enemies, as candidates being enemies, it's we could be on the same team, vote for them. I could be your second choice. Or, instead of they're evil, I'm good. It's we're all trying.